Get back. I'll talk to you in a second. I gotta check out this paint. Dude. I thought we were going with the green screen. Hey guys, welcome to Questions Over Coffee. Today we are coming to you from our new studio, so bear with us. We're getting stuff on the walls. If you watch the podcast, you'll kind of know that we've moved into a new space here, and I'm kind of still feeling it out. It feels very strange and foreign, but there might be a little bit of an echo. We're fixing that too. However, hope you like it. I think it's going to be a little bit better on the actual footage we're getting as well as the appearance. So let me know your thoughts. First question today is a doozy. So Rob showed me a picture the other day of good old Kanye wearing a chest rig, and I was like, oh my God, where did that come from? So this question sums it up. So I'm gonna read the whole question because it'll kind of help you out here with what I'm gonna show you. Okay, are you familiar with the Alex chest rig? This comes from Gumby TTL, by the way. Are you familiar with that? Google it and don't forget to look at the image search results. Short version is that it's a $500 fashion accessory. My question is, what are your thoughts on military style pieces like this, and do you think we as a community might be looked at with more on the fashion eye and not the crazy army guy who says the F word a lot? Will Mass Gray be in there in the fall color? Time will tell. So I think I understand the question, but however, I want to show you guys what this is if you haven't seen it yet. But so this is the Alex chest rig that they reference, and this is a $582 chest rig that I guess old Kanye picked up. But it's a direct ripoff off the Hill People gear and their kit bag. So they call this one the runner's kit bag. But I mean, this is under $100 and looks very similar. Even the back panel looks the same. So I guess if you're interested in accessorizing and you feel the need to splurge on a $500 Molly panel for your chest, I'd look at the Hill People gear one first. So they did it first. I think that as a community, I don't know. I wouldn't say that we're still looked at with the crazy eye or crazy army guy, as you say, but I think that fashion is starting to catch on to some of the trends that we have in our industry, which is, I guess, the tactical industry. It's what I like to say. I'm not sure whether it is or not, but I feel like everything's kind of affiliated in somehow with the gun culture and the tactical side and everything. So I think that more stuff has transitioned over to that. I mean, you look at like the Vans compilations with DEF CON and LBT, how they came out with the AOR1s and then the multicam and the other patterns that they've released. We're starting to see some of that in fashion too. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, and maybe it does kind of help the view of us as a community. So I don't know. Hopefully that answers your question, but I just know that hopefully no one out there, or I don't know, but hopefully no one out there is spending $582 on a tactical accessory for walking around the mall. Okay, next question comes from Jake over email. What's the best method you found for storing sleeping bags? So when I was younger, I always thought that you had to hang a sleeping bag to store it. And if you have the space, that's a great way to store them too. But however, I guess I have the space. I'm just not really a fan of doing that, I guess. But most high-end sleeping bags these days come with a stuff sack like this. So this is kind of like, now I don't really want to call it a stuff sack. It's more of a storage sack, because the stuff sack is what you pack the sleeping bag into. So like for instance, this Mountain Hardwear bag that I have sworn by for a great many years, you can see that it's kind of rolled in here. So I like to roll the sleeping bag inside of this, because what it does is it allows you to store without compressing the loft in the bag, or whatever the bag's made out of, down or whatever kind of fabric. And then I always make sure I store the actual stuff sack inside of this too, so that I always know where it is. That's kind of my big thing. And then I going to sit here and tell you something to do that I'm not doing. But I also typically have my pillow in here because I have like an inflatable Nemo pillow thing. And I typically always have that in here, but apparently it's not in here. But anyway, this is a really lightweight bag and it doesn't take much to compress. So the idea is to store them kind of rolled in one of these storage sacks rather than compressed in this little thing. Because what happens is over time that material like down will clump together and just wind up not wanting to come apart and insulate you. So that's the idea. Even synthetic stuff will do that too. It'll compress and then you'll have these basically cold spots in your sleeping bag where there won't be any insulation. So this was a sack that I picked up. I think this is like a laundry sack. But so there's a pillow. This was a sleeping bag that I didn't have a storage sack for, like it didn't come with one. So this is kind of something you can probably pick up on Amazon or something if you don't have one already. But again, rolled in these things is really what I'd recommend. And I probably have 6 different sleeping bags here that I keep like that. So that's kind of what I would recommend. Again, even like with this Nemo bag that I have, they've got, you can see I just kind of Z-folded this almost into there in the bag. But they've got this, and then again, there's a stuff sack. So it's always good to keep materials with your stuff too. That way that when you grab that bag, you're always going to have that available. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, next question comes from Bryan that spells his name correctly. I learned something new the other day. So when people spell my name wrong, I'm just going to say, how do you spell Ryan? R-Y-A-N. Add a freaking B. That's my name. Anyway, I was wondering your view on the recce rifle as a shit hits the fan rifle, so to speak, and what your choice would be if you only had one rifle. So if you're not familiar with the recce rifle, that's basically based on, it's kind of a bastardization of the Mark 12 platform, so it shoots like Black Hills Mark 262 ammo. It's got a 16-inch heavy barrel, 1-in-8 twist, and then it's got some kind of magnified optic. That's kind of what's out there in terms of what's agreed upon with it. So I'm not really a fan of 16-inch barrels. I tend to stick more with the 14.5, and I'll permanently attach a flash hider or a flash suppressor so that I can make the legal length on that. I just think it's more versatile, and so the rifle that I rely on is this kind of bastardization that I built, but it's a Daniel Defense rail. I think it's their RIS2 rail. I don't think they make them anymore, but it's built on an old Spikes tactical lower that we had these engraved with our logo a long time ago. It's a Bravo Company upper, and then I've got I know I've got a Stag Arms trigger or lower parts kit in it, and then a lot of the other things are coming from BCM. It's got a Haley Strategic light mount on it, and then I use this for a lot of stuff. Aimpoint T1. I do have a T2, but it's on another gun now, and I still think the T1 is just as dependable. This also has one of the XTS, or now they're Radian, ambidextrous charging handles. It's got an ambi safety on it too. I really like that. Obviously it's not loaded, but I've really depended on this gun for a long time now, and I probably built it a good 5+ years ago, if not more. I've got thousands of rounds through it, and I love it. So this is what I would pick if I had to pick one gun to use. However, there's obviously nothing wrong with a recce rifle. I just don't think some of the specs on it are quite necessary, in my opinion, when it comes to ARs. I don't completely discount magnified optics, but in my opinion, if I'm moving to a magnified optic to take a shot, why wouldn't I use something like a bolt gun that's more dependable, that I know is, super accurate? If I'm down and prone and I'm taking a shot at 300+ yards, I would rather know I'm going to hit it, and I can dial my dope that I already know based on the dope sheet that I do on my 6.5 Creedmoor. So that's kind of my opinion with that. I know you asked for a one gun recommendation, so I wanted to give you one, but I don't necessarily think that that's an all-in-one solution, so to speak. I think of the AR platform more as a short-range engagement rifle. And I know it's supposed to be able to push out to 600, 700 even yards plus 800, some people say, but I really think that that's not what it was designed for, in my opinion. That's why I typically go with like an Aimpoint T1 or T2. It's a fast acquisition red dot. There's no parallax in it. It's parallax free, so I like that about it too. But I can acquire it really quickly when I bring up the gun, so that's kind of what I fall back to. So hope that answers your question. 14.5 permanently attached flash hider. That's kind of what I go with. Okay, as you guys might know, what we've been doing lately is we've been picking a question of the episode to win a free bag of Avoca coffee. Again, we have a subscription to this coffee. We've got an overabundance of coffee because we haven't been drinking it like we thought we would, so we figured we'd give it away. So we'll ship it to you for free if you have a question that gets picked on an episode. So I'm going to give it to Gumby. I enjoyed looking up the Alex chest rig and looking at it and seeing the ship bags like to rip off kit, because it happens all the time. So anyway, I couldn't believe it was $582, so that was news to me. I didn't really even know that that was out there until Rob showed me the Kanye picture. So hey, bag of coffee on us. So again, thanks for watching. Remember to get your question answered here and potentially win a free bag of coffee. Use the pound tag Gear Tasting on any social media network and we'll find your question and answer it here on the show. We've also been fielding some questions on our Gear Tasting radio show. It's our podcast that we do as well in addition to this show. So check that out if you're not familiar with it yet. And as always, thanks for watching and keep the questions coming.